as you guys all well know, are these little guys that you guys put in your text messages or Facebook posts or Instagrams or whatever. And it's a whole little language. I mean, I have actually seen people communicate back and forth with each other just using these things. And I have to admit, I don't understand the language. So I'm going to need your help a little bit. I've got 5 emojis up here, and I'd like for you to decipher them for me, please. So if you know what it is, just go ahead and shout it out. So let's get the first one up here. What is that? Content? It looks pretty content. All right. I wasn't sure if it was like sleepy happy. Sleepy happy. All right, so that's content. So if you just ate a good meal, you're putting that on there? Like, oh, that's... All right. Well, let's go to the next one. The next one. All right, what is this? Jazz hands? Jazz hands? Happy hands. He's definitely happy and excited about something. I don't know. Maybe he's praising. I don't know. He's doing something.
Anything hot.
Okay, next one. I need some help. What? What is this? He's embarrassed. So he just did something totally embarrassing, you know? No, peekaboo. You know, there's an old see no evil, you can't really speak no evil. I think that's a see no evil book. There you go, yeah. So that monkey definitely isn't seen. But embarrassed? Okay, I like embarrassed. Next one? What is this?
I've never used that one.
You've never used this one? Has anyone ever used this before? I was told that this is called the ogre emoji. I'm not sure if he looks quite like an ogre, but maybe it's just because Shrek was green and I'm used to Shrek. Alright, so that's the ogre emoji, but we've never used that one before. Alright, last one. What is this?
Like alert.
Alert? So like ninja? Stop, drop, roll?
That's good.
See, I was wondering, like, it almost, for about a minute there, I thought maybe this guy was praying, but I don't know too many people that pray. Maybe. Surprise?
When you go to sleep, have you asked if your teacher like wakes you up and like,
Oh, yeah, right. Oh, the answer's 5. We're in history class. Oh, I got it. All right. So, obviously, lots of different interpretations. Maybe some of those aren't as commonly used as others. But emojis are there to represent emotions that we're feeling. Now, when I talk about emotions, remember emotions are these deep feelings that we feel when we respond to certain situations in our lives. And the crazy thing is, most people are under the assumption that there are good emotions and there are bad emotions. Like, there are these good ones that you want to be around and experience all the time, and there's these bad ones that you should never have to feel. I'll give you a couple examples, because I need to spin this on its head just a little bit. We'll start with fear. Hey. Don't scare me. Fear. You see, fear, most people, they tell you, don't be afraid, and be tough, and don't be scared. But fear is actually a really good emotion. I mean, think about it. If you're trapped in a horror film, and someone's coming after you, that fear is going to keep you alive. You're going to run away from that bad guy. Hopefully you never get trapped in a horror film, but fear is a good emotion when it serves its purpose. Let's go on to worry. See, some people, they just worry and worry and worry all the time. And they stress themselves out, but worry is actually kind of a good thing. If you think about it, during the school year, how many of you, when you had like a big homework assignment, a big paper due on like a Friday, and you had 3 weeks to do it, you didn't worry about it at all for the first 2.5 weeks, and then all of a sudden on Thursday night, you pull an all-nighter and work for like 5 hours straight and get that paper done, or maybe even like Friday morning right before school starts. You ever that ever happen? See, worry is a good thing. It motivates us to get stuff done. Without worry, we'd probably just never get our work done. And some of you just have no worries in the world, so you can even turn that paper in. Hopefully not. So worry can be a good emotion. And tired. Oh, tired. I love tired. See, without tired, I would probably stay up till 5 o'clock in the morning every night playing video games. But after a while, I start to feel this emotion of, I should probably get some rest because my body needs some regeneration here. So tired is a good emotion. So fear and worry and tiredness, these are emotions that on the surface they appear to be bad, and people are always telling us, don't be afraid, don't worry, but they actually serve a pretty profound purpose in our lives. And so today, we're going to be talking about one of those emotions, and one that a lot of people actually have a lot of trouble with, and they struggle with quite often. Because you can either feel emotions and use them, or you can let your emotions control you and influence the way that you carry out your life. And one of those emotions that tonight's talk is specifically on is sadness. And so I've got that emoji up here too. And clearly this guy is he's having a rough day. Maybe a rough week, I don't know. It's a lot of
Maybe
times.
his parents died.
I don't know. And one of the reasons we're going to talk about sadness tonight, is because this emotion is so incredibly powerful that it has that ability to take control of our lives, take control of us and our actions, and we can get trapped in this cycle of sadness. But it's something we're all going to experience. Every single person in this room has experienced sadness and will experience sadness again. Some of us on a very, very regular basis. It happens. There are always things to be sad about. So tonight, I actually want to tell you a little bit of a story. I love telling stories, and I want to tell you a story from the Bible. This comes from John 11. Now, in John 11, here's the scene. Jesus is walking around with his disciples. And, he's doing his thing. He's healing people, he's preaching to people, he's teaching his disciples, he's doing his thing. And all of a sudden, word comes to Jesus. And he hears this horrible news. He finds out that one of his best friends in the whole world, someone that he loves, the guy's name is Lazarus. Lazarus is sick. And they tell him, Jesus, you got to get over here right away because Lazarus is going to die. And Jesus says, okay, we'll go. But first, I need to take care of this, I need to do this. And he had a plan, and some things that he needed to take care of. By the time Jesus gets to where Lazarus is, it's 4 days after Lazarus has already died. So Lazarus has been dead. In fact, they buried him. They didn't bury him underground. They put him in a tomb, in a cave kind of thing. They laid him to rest. Lazarus is dead. And there's three characters or people in this story that I need you to know, besides Jesus. Lazarus, who is Jesus' really good friend, someone that he loves. And Lazarus' two sisters. His two sisters, Martha and Mary. Now, we're going to hone in on one specific sister at first, and we're going to come back to the other sister later. And I don't want to give away too much of the ending, but Jesus does end up raising Lazarus from the dead. But that's actually not the point that we're going to be talking about tonight. Because something really, really interesting happens right before Jesus does this. In fact, that's the focus of the story tonight, not the raising from the dead. Because we get some real emotions out of these people. And so let's take a look at these verses. And it says, when Mary reached the place where Jesus was and saw him, she fell at his feet. And keep in mind, her brother just died. If you have siblings, I want you to imagine what she's going through right now. Her brother just died 4 days ago. He's in the tomb. She had sent word to Jesus. She told Jesus, you got to come here. You're going to save him. And he didn't arrive in time. So she's angry. She's sad. She's hurt. She feels betrayed. She runs to Jesus and she goes down at his feet and says, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. She's blaming him. She's hurt. She's sad. She doesn't know how to express these emotions, these feelings. When Jesus saw her weeping, and the Jews who had come along with her also were weeping, he was deeply moved in his spirit, and he was troubled. So he sees all this sadness going on. He sees all this hurt and all this pain. And Jesus, and this is something that a lot of people miss, Jesus was fully God and fully man, fully human. He experienced everything that we experience today. He felt those emotions. And so when Jesus saw this hurt and this pain, Jesus was troubled by it. And he asked a simple question: where have you laid him? And they say, come and see, Lord. And then we come to the shortest verse in the entire Bible. 2 words. The 2 most powerful words. He wept. Jesus cried. Lazarus' sister is there crying. Both of his sisters. These other people that were friends and family, his disciples. Jesus is there. This is his best friend. Jesus goes to the tomb. He knows what's going to happen. He knows that he's going to raise him from the dead. But he cries. And then the Jews said, see how he loved him. See, our emotions give others a window into how we're feeling, what we're experiencing. Jesus didn't just walk up and say, no, guys, it's all good, I got this. He felt what we feel. He cried. He was sad. And here's the thing that we need to learn from this. And here's the problem that we have in our lives, is Jesus knows how to handle sadness, and we're going to learn from him in a little bit. But we don't know what to do when we feel these emotions. We don't know what to do when we feel sad. We don't know how to stop them from controlling us. Many of us will act like Mary in the story, or the other people in the story, get angry and blame. Sometimes we're a little lost on how we should respond to these feelings. And so I'm going to tell you a couple little stories from my own life, real quick, and take you back to when I was like 5, 6 years old. I was a strange child. And when I say strange, I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into me. When I was 6 years old, the toilet seat in the bathroom by my bedroom cracked. Like it broke, it cracked. And my parents decided one day, you know what, we're going to fix that toilet seat. And so they went to the store, they bought a new toilet seat, and they replaced the toilet seat. I came home from school and I found that my toilet seat had been changed. I cried. Now, that's ridiculous. I cried over a toilet seat. But I cried. And I cried because I didn't know how to handle my emotions. I was 6 years old. I was troubled by something. This was my toilet seat. I was used to this toilet seat. They changed it. My comfort was gone, and I was hurt. And I yelled at them. I screamed at them, where's my toilet seat? You better bring it back. I was hurt. They're like, Matthew, it's okay. What's wrong with you? It's okay. Don't cry. Don't be sad. It's just a toilet seat. Now, that may sound a little silly to you, but I didn't know how to handle my emotions. I was immature. I was young. I was 5, 6 years old. Fast forward to when I was 10, and this will give you some more insight into how weird and strange I am. I was probably going to be the first 10, 11-year-old in the world to have a midlife crisis and maybe a heart attack. When I was 10 years old, and when I say midlife crisis, here's what I mean. When I was 10, I came to the realization that someday I was going to die. Like, I am living right now, I am breathing right now, and someday I am going to die. And this terrified me. Because when I was little, I didn't know Jesus. In fact, I had convinced my parents to stop going to church by this point. I told them it was all a hoax, it was a scam, it was a bunch of crazy people. I convinced my family to stop going to church. And so when I was 10 years old, in my bedroom every single night, and I mean every single night, I would lay in bed crying. Because I was imagining what would happen after I died. And the best thing I could imagine was nothingness. Like, if I believed that this Jesus thing was all a bunch of garbage, then when I die, the lights get turned out. There's nothingness. There's no feeling. There's no experience. It's just blackness. It's going on nothing. And it scared me to death. It terrified me. So much, I had pains in my stomach. I got these sharp, agonizing pains. My parents even took me to the hospital once or twice. They didn't know what was wrong with me. It took them years to figure out what was going on. This stress, this tension, this anxiety. I cried every single night. I was 10 years old. I didn't know the truth. I didn't know how to handle my emotions. I was scared. Sometimes, when we go through uncomfortable or difficult situations, we don't always know how to handle our emotions in the right way. I'm going to go through a quick list of the things I do. I'm guilty of all of these, every single one. Think about this for a second. Do you ever do this? Maybe I'm alone in this, but maybe not. I like to close off the world. I shut the world out. I don't let anyone in, and I just deal with it myself. I don't want anyone to know that I'm sad or I'm hurting. They don't need to know because they'll think I'm weak. So I don't let anyone know that I'm sad. Or I try to keep really, really busy. Like if something bad happens, all of a sudden I find excuses. I need to clean this room, and that needs doing, and I'm going to work on that paper and that homework assignment. I just keep myself busy so I don't have to think about things. Or I eat. And this sounds a little crazy. I mean, some of you maybe eat a whole tub of ice cream. I eat anything that tastes good. Chocolate, popcorn, pretzels. I'll go to my favorite restaurant. I'll just eat. It's delicious. Makes me feel better. Plus, I'm enjoying what I'm doing, so I don't have to think about what's going on. Do you do something? What do you do? Huh?
When do you tell your parents that you're fear of dying?
See, that's the thing. I never told them. I kept it to myself. I laughed it off. I hid it. People are always telling you, tough it out. Oh, come on, don't be a baby. And guys, I'm so sorry for the gentlemen in this room. There's a stigma in our world where people like to say, man up, be a man, tough it out. No. Grieving, being sad, helps us work through things. Now, before we get into the talk and what Jesus did and what we need to learn about that, I need to be clear. There's a big difference between sadness and depression. Sadness is a result of a circumstance that happens in our lives, a change that takes place, something like that, and we feel an emotion. Depression is when you are sad all the time, and it influences your actions, your life, the things that you do, the people around you. That's something totally different. We're not talking about depression tonight. But just briefly, if you're in this room and you're experiencing that, depression, I encourage you tonight before you leave, talk to one of the leaders, talk to me. Let someone know so that we can help you. We can pray with you. We can help you work through that. That's something far deeper than what I'm getting at tonight. But back to sadness, I want to ask a question, a hypothetical question. I'm going to answer it. Why does sadness happen to us? And why do we have sadness? We got Jesus, right? He died, he rose from the grave. We don't need to be sad anymore, right? No, we have sadness because we live in a sinful world. We live in a broken, messed up world. And no one really chooses to be sad, unless you're emo. I mean, you guys know what emo is, right? From the 90s, 2000s. Anyway, dashboard confessional. All right. But this is why Jesus was sad. He saw the sin that was taking place in the world. The consequence of sin is death and separation from those that you love. That's what Jesus saw. He saw this sadness taking place. Okay. So the way we handle this sadness is very important. So let's take a look at Jesus. Jesus did two things. Jesus handled his sadness in two ways. The first way that Jesus handled his sadness, he was honest about it. Jesus was real. He did not isolate himself. He did not close off the world. He didn't try to tough it out. He didn't stand up in front of everyone and say, all right, I got this. No, he cried. When Jesus was sad, he cried. was real. Everyone around him looked at him and could tell right away the feelings, the emotions that he was feeling. They could be there for him at that point if he needed them. They could grieve in a community. But Jesus was real. He was sad. And that's a tough one for us. We have a hard time being real with our emotions. The second thing Jesus did was he had an understanding that sadness was only temporary. He knew that it was okay to be sad, it was okay to grieve, but there was joy coming. It wasn't the end. He knew what he had come to do. And so I'm going to take a look at a psalm. This is a very famous psalm. There's actually some songs written about it. Weeping may stay for the night, but rejoicing comes in the morning. The song, if you know the pop song, the song goes, "Joy comes in the morning." I'm not singing. We were singing it before service. But Jesus brings hope to our sadness. And he takes care of that sin and that death, and he restores it. And in John 16:33, Jesus says something very profound. He says, "I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace." You can be sad, but have peace. "In this world you will have trouble." You're going to have trouble. You're going to be sad. That's okay. But take heart. I have overcome the world. You can be sad. It's okay. Express those feelings. But you need to know and you need to understand, I've overcome this world. I've got it. I've taken care of it already. We can always come back to this truth. The joy that we have in Jesus outweighs any sadness we might be experiencing. The joy, the love, the power of Jesus outweighs it all. And that gives us hope. So going back to Lazarus, I want to point out another sister. So we talked about Mary. And Mary came right up to Jesus and she blamed Jesus. And if you had only been here. Lazarus' other sister, Martha, she did something similar. She came up to Jesus too and she said, "Lord, if you had only been here, I know you could have healed him." I mean, she says it, but less of a blaming tone. And Jesus says this to her because he knows her heart. And I want you to read this with me. Jesus said to her, "I am the resurrection and the life. The one who believes in me will live, even though they die. And whoever lives by believing in me will never die." Do you believe this? And here's what he's saying. You're worried about your brother dying, which is fair. I feel sad too. But if you believe in me, if you put your faith in me, then even though you may die, you will have eternal life. There's no nothingness. Little 10-year-old Matthew crying in his bed at night doesn't have to worry. Death will happen. Separation will take place from loved ones. We live in a sinful world and trouble will happen in our lives. But even though we may die, if you believe in Jesus, you will live eternally with him. And he asks, do you believe this? And so I'm asking you today, do you believe this? Do you believe in Jesus?
Yeah.
Do you believe that one day you will die, but you will live eternally with him? And if you do, the joy and the power of that is amazing. And if you don't, I want to say I'm so sorry. And I'm sorry because I'm empathetic. I know what you're feeling. That pain, that fear, that hurt, I felt it for years. But I had to wait. I had to wait until I was 27 years old, 28 years old, to figure out this truth. If you believe in Jesus, you don't have to have that fear, that sadness anymore. And so, what I want to do is I want to pray real quick. And if there's anyone in this room that has never accepted Jesus before, I'd like you to consider, I'd like you to take this opportunity to think about asking Jesus into your life. And if you've already accepted Jesus, celebrate the joy that He's given you. And remember that sadness will happen, but He's got you covered. So please bow with me in prayer. Jesus, thank you so much. Thank you for all that you do for us. Thank you for all that you've given us. Thank you for dying on the cross, taking our sin onto you, even though you were innocent, rising from the dead 3 days later, and conquering death, so that we can have hope in you. Thank you for bringing joy into our lives, and that even though we may experience sadness for a time, joy will come. And that even though we may die, we can live eternally with you. Lord, if there's anyone in this room that is hurting right now, is in trouble right now, I ask that you be with them, you comfort them, you guide them. And if there's anyone in this room that doesn't know you, I pray that you fill them with your Holy Spirit and they invite you into their hearts and come to know you as their Savior. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I want to leave you with one final thought. And if you've heard me talk before, I have a common message typically with my talks, and it's this: we are meant to be an example to the world around us. The way we behave, the way we act, the way we control our emotions, handle ourselves, is to be a witness to the world around us. How we handle our sadness, our grief, testifies to the love that we have. When you go through troubling times, and you will, you don't have to tough it out. You don't have to put on a false show. You don't have to lie to yourself and say, I don't need to be sad, I've got Jesus. You do have Jesus. But you can be real with your feelings and emotions. You can cry. You can tell people that you're sad. And when you experience those true, honest emotions in your life, and people see that, and then see the hope that you have still in Jesus and the joy that He brings, that's the most powerful testimony that anyone can see in your life. So I encourage you. Rely on Jesus, trust in Him, but be real with who you are and your feelings. Jesus was. All right, and that's it for tonight. We're going to break up into our huddles, or smoops. And so